Hello and welcome. I'm glad that you're here with us again as we continue our chronological read through of Scripture. You know, Moses has been recounting to Israel basically telling them about their time with God in the wilderness after God had rescued them from the hand of the Egyptians. Moses has reminded them that it is at God's hand that they were redeemed, and that it is at God's hand that they were preserved through those 40 years in the wilderness. Now Moses goes on to adjure them to never forget this, to keep that ever in the forefront of their memory, lest the fate of the people that they are displacing fall onto Israel itself. The life that they're going to lead in the promised land, it's going to be good. It's great. It's prosperous. They're to take care that they don't forget about the hardships that they endured and the blessings that they received from God while they endured them. When they were hungry, God fed them. If they were thirsty, God provided water, whether there was water to be had anywhere around or not. Even their clothes and their sandals were caused to last and not wear out, as they really had no way of replacing them in the wilderness. The temptation would be great to forget all of this when they are awash in God's blessings in the new land that He's giving them. And even more, they'll be tempted to forget that it is God and not they themselves that are providing all of this blessing that's there. Moses goes on in the next chapter, chapter 9, to remind Israel that there's nothing inherent about them that has caused God to bless them in this way. Indeed, they're being blessed not because they have earned it in some way, but because of the wickedness of those people that they're driving out. The wickedness of the people they're driving out is so great. That's why they are receiving these blessings from God. Well, to put it bluntly, God is not using Israel to punish the peoples of the land because Israel is great and righteous, but because the people of the land are so wicked. I would hardly call that a glowing endorsement. Indeed, Moses reminds them that they themselves are a stiff-necked people, that they are prone to disobey God and to wander from God. And then Moses goes on to remind them of all their stubbornness and their unfaithfulness over the last 40-some years. How they so quickly went to worshiping the golden calf while Moses was still on the mountain with God, getting God's instructions for them. How Israel provoked God by being unwilling to go in and take the land that God had promised them, angering God to the point that He wanted to destroy them all and start over again with Moses. But Moses interceded with God for them, and God relented. As you read, don't be confused that Moses is not giving examples in strictly chronological order. You're going to find these examples Moses giving are all over the map throughout this 40-year period. What he's doing is he's just bringing things up to demonstrate the rebellious nature of Israel and their propensity for angering God, for disobeying Him and failing to trust Him. In the first part of chapter 10, Moses actually returns to the things that happened around Mount Sinai. Moses reminds them of how the Levites had been set aside for service to God in the affairs of the tabernacle and for Aaron's clan being set aside as priests. We're actually going to end midway through chapter 10 today because, well, it's a very logical place to break. The second 2/3 of chapter 10 really fits better with the reading that we'll be doing tomorrow, as it tells us what type of response is appropriate for all of these things that God has done for them, and actually the same way that God has done for us. These words of Moses apply to much more than the Israelites of Moses' day. We too live in a land that's prosperous and beneficial to us. Thus, just like the Israelites, we too are prone to forget that it's God who provides all of this bounty. We're prone to praise ourselves and our labor for the rich blessings that we have, rather than the grace and the benevolence of God. And we too are prone to think that it's the goodness and righteousness, our own goodness and righteousness, that causes us to bless us, when indeed it is God's blessing us without any merit or worthiness in us. So read carefully these warnings of Moses. They speak to us today as clearly as they spoke to Israel in his. May God be with you and bless you. As always, I pray that these readings are continuing to edify you, that you're learning, that you're growing. I look forward to gathering with you again tomorrow.